Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see how to create folders dynamically inside blob based upon the input files last modified on date. In our last video we have seen for a single file. In this video we are going to see how to handle for multiple files. If you haven't watched the last video, I request you to watch that video because then only you can easily compare and follow up on this video. I'll be providing the URL in the video description as well. Let us see the acceptance criteria. Here we have two containers, source and destination. In the source, we have input files and each of the file will have different modification date and time. So let's say for example, in the first file, it is of 12th month and date is 10. And for the second and third file, it is of 11th date. So let me go back. In the destination container, I need to create the year folder and inside it, I should have month folder and followed by date folder should be there. And if I navigate to that folder, the particular file should be there. So this is based upon the files last modified on date. I have cleaned up the destination so that we can start with our scenario. Let me go back to the source container. So these are the files we are going to start with. In the Azure Data Factory, I have created the link to this particular storage account as well. Then let me go to author. First step is to create a dataset to the input container. So let me create a dataset for blob, search for blob and select this and click on continue. And our input file is in CSV format. So I'm just selecting it and let me click on continue. And let me rename the dataset so that we can easily identify. From the drop down, select the linked service which we have created. And let me browse our source container. This is the one. Let me select it. There are multiple files inside our source container. Just click on OK. We will parameterize the file name. Let's see how to do it later. Now let's import the schema first. So I'm going to import the schema from the sample file which I have in my local. I'm going to select this option and browse to select my file. Yeah, this is the one. And let me click on OK. Yeah, I forgot to check the first row as header because our input file has the header in the first row. And let me minimize this. Now let us parameterize the file name part. So in order to do parameterization, go to parameters. So this is dataset parameter. So here I'm going to create a parameter. I'm going to suffix dp. dp means dataset parameter. So this is the naming convention which I normally use. And let's go here to the file name. Just click on the file name and add dynamic content. And here select the parameters which we have created right now. So whatever the value we pass to this parameter, it will be going to be our file name. So under schemas, we have already imported with the sample file, right? So it came up here and that's it. Let me publish this in order to save it. Now let us create one more dataset for our destination container. Just click on this icon and click on new dataset and search for blob and select the blob storage and click on continue. And the output also going to be in CSV format. So I have selected the same. And let me provide a name to our dataset. From the linked service, select the blob link because we are going to use the same storage. And let's browse the destination container. And there is no files inside it. Just click on OK and select first row as header. Let me import the schema from my local file. Let me browse and select the file in my local. To upload the schema, just click on OK. Let me minimize the property window. And here we have the schema which we have imported. We need to parameterize this directory as we want to create the dynamic folders. So we need to parameterize this. I'm going to parameterize the file name as well. Let's parameterize directory first. As we did before, go to parameters and click on this new icon and provide a name to the parameter. Leave the default value as blank and let the type be string. And here in the directory, just click on add a dynamic content and select the parameter which we have added right now and click on OK. Now let's parameterize the file name part as well. Let me go to parameters tab. Just click on new and provide a name to the file parameter and let the type be string. And let me go here and select the dynamic content as we did before, and this time let me select the file parameter, and that's it. Let me summarize whatever we have done now. In the input dataset we have parameterized the file part alone, and in the output dataset we have parameterized both directory as well as the file name. Now I need one more dataset which is for the input container. You might be wondering why we need another dataset, because usually we will create only two dataset, which is for the input, one for the input file and one for the output file. But for this scenario I need one more dataset for the input container alone, because we have parameterized the file name part in the input dataset. So without parameter I need one more dataset, which you will see why we are doing it in later part. As of now, just think like we need one more dataset for this scenario alone. So in order to do it, just click on this icon and click on new dataset and search for blob, and let me select it. And you can select any. I'm going to select CSV, and let me provide a name to this dataset. I'm creating this dataset for the container alone. So let me select the blob link and let me select the input container. And let's not select any file, just click on OK. And here do not import any schema, just give it as none, because this is just for the container alone. And let me minimize this. Now I'm not going to parameterize the file name, I'm going to leave as it is. Let me move to pipeline. Just click on this icon to create a new pipeline and provide a name to the pipeline if you wish. I have provided a name. Let me minimize this, and now search for get metadata. We will use this get metadata activity in order to read whatever the files available inside the source container. So in order to do it, just go to settings and from the dataset dropdown select the container dataset which we have created, the one which doesn't have parameter. If I select the dataset which is having parameters, then I need to provide the values for the file names, right? But we need to get the file names dynamically. Later point of time, we can easily pass the values which we are getting from this activity to the parameterized dataset, which we'll see later. In the field list, just click on new, and from this drop down, you will have various options like child items, item type, name and all. Just click on this child item, so it will list out what are the files available inside this particular container. So you might be thinking we are also able to see one more item which is last modified on. Why don't we get the last modified on here itself? But it won't work. I have tried it. What it is doing is it is not returning the files last modified on. Instead it is returning the containers last modified on date, which we don't want. As of now, let's get what are the child items available inside the container. Later we will get their modified on date and time. Now let's run to see what are the values we are getting. It got completed. Let me see the output. So let me copy this to a notepad. And if you see here, inside the child items, you have the file's name. What are the files available inside? Everything is available in this particular child items array. Now let's minimize this. I need to add a for each loop because I need to iterate each of the files available inside the container, and I need to find the last modified date in order to create the folders dynamically. So in order to do it, just search for each. Let me drag and drop. Now this for each have to execute after get metadata activity. So I just drag it here. Now just click on this for each, and under settings tab, here you have option to provide the items, meaning like what is the dynamic value you want to pass to this for each. we need the child items of get metadata activity. So in order to do it, just select this get metadata activity dot child items and click on OK. Now what are the child items we are getting, that will be iterated over here. Just double click on this activities in order to get inside this for each loop. Just double click. Now we are inside for each. Here we need one more get metadata activity in order to find the files last modified on date. In order to do it, just search for get and drag and drop. Let me rename this activity so that already we have one more activity with get metadata, right? So in order to maintain the uniqueness, I'm just providing a name to this task, and under this task just click on this and go to settings. This time let's select the parameterized dataset, which is input dataset. Just click on this, and here if you see the dataset property, it is asking for the file name, right? Source DPU, the parameter which we have created. So here we need to pass the value. Just click on this and click on add a dynamic content, and here just click on this for each. Let me click it. So what this does is, whatever the child items for each of the child item, which means the name and type of first file and the name and type of second file as well as the third file. So each of the item will be iterated one by one, but we just need the name, right? We don't want type and all. So in order to read the name property alone, just type dot name. That's it. And now click on OK and scroll down further. Here you will have the field list. Just click on new. And from the drop down, select last modified. So for that specific file, what is the last modified time? It will return that. Let me maximize this. This is the field which we need. I have selected it. Now let's get back to the pipeline and see what are we have done so far. In the first get metadata activity, we will get what are the child items available inside the container, and for each of the child items we are going to iterate. Inside this for each, we are going to get the last modified date of each file. Let's run as of now to see what are the output we are getting. Here if you see, the for each is showing count 3. So 3 iterations are there and 3 get last modified is there. For the first one, the input is the file name and the output is the last modified date of the file. Let me close this. Similarly for the second one, input is the file name and for the output you will be getting the last modified. So for all 3 files you will be getting like this only, file name, and in the output you will see the last modified date. Now it's time to copy the files from source to destination. Let me minimize the unwanted tab. Let me double click for each. Now we are currently inside for each, and here we need to add a copy activity. Just search for copy. Yeah, this is the one. Now I want this to be executed after this get metadata. So I have dragged. Now under source, select the input dataset, which is the parameterized one. We need the file names, right? So just click on add a dynamic content. So what we are going to do, we are going to do the same what we did for that get metadata activity. So inside the child item, I need the name part alone. So I'm going to do the exactly the same part which we did earlier. Just type dot name. That's it. Just click on OK, and file path type, leave it as file path in the data set. If you don't know what it is, watch my earlier video on these items and go to sync. From the drop down, select output dataset. Here you need to pass the value for the directory as well as the file name. Let's parameterize the file name first, which is a easy one. Just click on add a dynamic content and the file name is going to be same as the input, right? So do the exactly the same part which we did for the input data set. So file name is done. Now for the directory part, what we need the last modified on time, right? Because based upon it only we are going to create the folders, right? So in order to do it, I need the last modified data of the file. Let me get the output of previous run. So based upon it, we will frame the dynamic expression. Just click on any output and copy, and let me paste it in a new notepad. We are going to frame the expression based upon this last modified value only. So let's copy this to a notepad. I am not going to pass this value as it is to the directory parameter. I need the directory to be in certain format, which is year followed by slash, month, slash, and date. This is how the directory should look like, right? I'm inside for each. The value of get metadata activity have to be passed to this directory parameter. So just click on add a dynamic content and select the activity output tab. So this one will get the complete output, which we don't want. We need only last modified. So child items, no, don't want this. Yeah, if you see here, last modified is there. So output dot last modified. This is the value which we are going to get. Let's format this. In order to format, I'm going back to the notepad and let me paste it. This complete expression will return this unformatted value. I have to make changes in the expression in order to get this value in the expected format. First, let us see how we can extract the year part first. Then we will see month and date part. In order to extract the year part, we need to use substring function. So in order to do it, go to functions and search for substring. Substring I have explained in elaborated way in our last video. Please do watch if you couldn't follow up this. So let me copy this and let me paste over here. So to get the year part alone, what I'm going to do is, let's copy the complete expression which we have built up earlier. Just copy this except at part. We need only one at the beginning, so I just ignored. Followed by put one comma and starting of the index, followed by how many length we need. The length of year is 4 characters, right? So let me put comma 4. So this will return 2022, the year part. Now let me copy paste the same for month part as well. So here we need to change the index. Here the starting index for month part is 5, right? So put as 5. And how many length we need 2, modify it as 2. So this will return the month part, which is 12. Now for better understanding, let me type the value which is going to return. So this will return 2022 and this will return 12, which is month part. Now for the date part, let me copy paste again. And for the date part, starting index is 8. So let me put it, and the length is going to be 2. So this will return value 11. Finally, what we need to do is we need to append each of them with a / in the middle. So in order to append all these strings, just go here and search for concat. Sometime searching won't help, so you need to find it manually. So just scroll down and here go for string function. Under string function, concat should be there. And let me scroll it. Yeah, this is the one. Let me copy concat to our notepad to build our final expression. So let me paste over here. Now we need to put everything what are we have framed, right? Just put one by one expression without at. We need only one at the starting. So just put it, comma. We need / in between, right? So just put / in single quotes followed by comma and the expression for the month part. Let me copy this and put it over here, comma, and / in single quotes, comma, followed by the date part. Let me copy paste the part. So this is our final expression. Let me copy everything and let's paste it over here. And that's it. If you have any error, it will show a red at the end. It's not showing any error and our query is good. Just click on OK. File name and all we have already given. Now it's time to test our flow. Just click on debug in order to run it. Let's wait for the completion. It got completed. Now let us go to our destination container in order to cross verify. If you want to see the output, you can just check it over here. In the destination, year folder is created. Just click on this and month folder followed by the date folder. Under this, the respective files are placed. Now we have another scenario. What if we have the date on our file name itself and we want to create folders based upon our file name? In order to know it, hit the bell icon and wait for my next video. Follow me on LinkedIn to stay connected. If you have any scenarios something like this, ping me on LinkedIn. I will try my best to make a video on it, but it will take some time to produce a video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.